Okay. Today, here on the podcast, we're going to talk about the asym community as a whole. And I'm about to get a whole lot of heat for what I'm about to say, but you guys are some of the most degenerate people I've ever met. So, what started this conversation was a while ago. It's been about a week and a half ago, so it's old news now. I guess it would be. I saw somebody on Twitch, or not Twitch, Twitter discussing. I'm gonna get all my cords untangled. Twitter discussing how Killer Clowns did not do a lot of advertising. How could they possibly hope to succeed? Well, I don't know how to tell the Dead by Daylight babies that Ghostbusters Spirits Unleashed did not advertise a lot and is still relatively popular and successful. Even has its own league because it is way more balanced and not RNG based behavior. Right? And I thought the asym community as a whole just is some of the most salty individuals. And I mean, even I'm guilty of it. I rage all the fucking time. Right? There's something about that genre that just brings the worst out in gamers, right? And, it brings the worst out in the developers, too, because we've seen how the TCM developers respond to criticism. Now, sometimes the responses are valid. People are genuinely doing personal attacks, and y'all deserve to get, put in your place. But other times, the criticism isn't even, personal. It's just, they just can't handle hearing that their game is, it's not bad. It's not bad. I don't think it's bad. A lot of people do, though, because they don't like the way it plays. They don't like that it plays like Friday the 13th, because they didn't like Friday the 13th, and how they're the only other Dead by Daylight alternative in their eyes, plays like a game they don't like. It's fucking crazy, right? Well, my concern with this is that they now know about Killer Clowns. They didn't know about fucking Ghostbusters, except with exception of just Gavin Bennett. I don't think I saw any Dead by Daylight streamers streaming it, which was a breath of fresh air. Some of you guys do not need to be touching the asyms. Anyway, so a Killer Clown's releasing just around the corner. I wanted to touch base on the asym community and ask, are you guys okay? Are you okay? Why is there so much hatred for any developer that dares develop another asym that isn't Dead by Daylight? And we see it all the time. Y'all hate it on Home Sweet Home. You hate it on Ash vs. Evil Dead. You hate it on VHS. You still hate it on TCM. Some of y'all hate it on Friday the 13th, and it wasn't even that big a deal because it wasn't getting any new content, thanks to the lawsuit. And now I got a feeling you all about to hate just as hard, if not harder, on Killer Clowns because you feel like they didn't advertise because you didn't hear about it. Well, I'm here to tell you, it's not that they didn't advertise. It's that the people that were talking about it weren't in your social circles, okay? I actually knew it was coming out a long time ago and actually asked if it was going to be on console, and they said to stay tuned for that. So when I got the notey that it was going to be on console, my ass was hyped. Because let's face it, the asym genre is more than just Dead by Daylight, and I think that Dead by Daylight players need to accept that there are other asyms out there that are not Dead by Daylight. And not all of them are coming out there with the intent to kill Dead by Daylight. Some of y'all really need to just accept that. I saw someone say, well, TCM advertises it was going to kill. No, it did not. Streamers said it was going to kill Dead by Daylight, and some of them really did think that. I did not. I thought it played way too differently to kill Dead by Daylight. I thought it was incredibly different. That's like saying that Friday the 13th, had it been successful, would have killed Dead by Daylight. It would not have. It would have just been healthy competition. And I think the asyms that are not advertising because they're scared. Not that they're scared they're going to fail, but they're scared about after what happened to VHS. So for those you don't know, VHS was the closest I ever saw a game come to dethroning Dead by Daylight. And it would have succeeded had a group of people not hacked it. And I've said this before here on the podcast. And I put my tinfoil hat on for this, that I do think it was a member of the Dead by Daylight community that hacked it. I don't think it was any of the developers, but I do think it was a member of the community that hacked VHS and tried to get user data. I think that there was genuine fear because the developers knew what they were doing with VHS. I think there was paranoia among the community that their favorite game could be dethroned. And there's nothing wrong with liking a game. There is something wrong with thinking that there can be no other game but your game, right? And that's another thing I want to talk with the asym community about. What is your all's problem? So I did a stream today on the A Gamer Squid channel on Twitch, and we had two people come in bitching about how I played. I didn't get hooked once because I was fucking doing gens because they were running around, you know, being in chase of the killer, so might as well fucking do gens. I got several saves, all that jazz. Anyway, they said, you didn't help, yada yada yada, typical Sable main. I'm not a Sable main, by the way, although I'm slowly becoming one. I'm actually a Dwight main. And everyone, you know, they're just being assholes. And I just gotta ask the Dead by Daylight community, what is yours fucking problem? Out of all the asymmetrical communities, you guys are the saltiest people I have ever met. And I get it. The game makes me salty too. It makes me rage. I have a love-hate relationship with the devs. I can't stand them, and I love them at the same time. I get it. I 100% get it. The game is horribly unbalanced, even though it has skill-based matchmaking. The maps are terrible. I get it. Okay, I get it. But at the same time, I'm not going into other streamers' chats that I face and telling them how fucking terrible they are. I was already having bad games back to back. The dude was trying to give me an exit gate. I didn't want the escape. I just wanted him to hook me and be done with it. And he was upset that I didn't take the exit gate. So there was the entitlement that I should have just accepted his freebie. What is wrong with y'all? Like, genuinely, what is wrong with you all that you think people need to play the game or respond to your actions in-game the way you want them to, and if they don't, god damn it, they're pieces of shit and need to go, you know, do things, right? And you know what I'm talking about, because I've had that said so many times to me in Dead by Daylight. I've never had it said to me in Ghostbusters. I've never had it said to me in TCM, although I have been called some colorful phrases. Keep in mind, I stream a lot of the times with no face cam, so I get called the N-word a lot because they just assume that I'm black, I guess. I don't sound black. I don't think I sound black. I sound like I'm from the mountains. Some of my people said that, and I do. I am from the mountains. I was born in Pontiac, Michigan, but I was raised in good old Pikeville, Kentucky. Appalachia country. So I don't think I sound black. I think that's just, they just assume because they don't like me, and they don't, I don't want to say they don't like black people, because that's wrong. I don't know. But I've been called the N-word an uncomfortable amount of times for somebody who is white. A very uncomfortable amount of times for somebody who is white. And it's not, and again, it's not that I haven't heard that word used, before. I have heard it. I just don't like the word. And I don't like being called the word, because not only am I not black, but it's racist as fuck. And in fact, you know, I'm Sicilian, so, you know, the N-word is used to describe us as, to describe Sicilians. It's used by mainland Italianers, not Sicilians, obviously. And that just goes down to history. That's not exactly that we're black. It's just, it's history. Anyway. I don't look black. I don't sound black. And I hear it a lot from the Dead by Daylight community. Which, again, reiterates my point. What is wrong with y'all? Why are you guys so angry all the time? Another asyn comes out, you're mad. Someone doesn't play the way you want, you're mad. Someone wins, you're mad. Someone loses, you're mad. Someone loops you, you're mad. Someone gets a save, you're mad. Someone gets a hook, you're mad. Like, what the fuck, man? And I'm not, and we gotta talk about this, because it's like poisoning the asym community, man. There was so much anger over Killer Clown's official announcement, and I don't understand. I don't understand. So I want the Dead by Daylight community, particularly because you all are the only asym that seems to have this problem, to come and tell me, hello cat, to come and tell me what your problem is. And I'm not talking about people like Spook and Jukes and TURJ and, you know, all them. Those guys are not constantly mad. I'm talking about your average run-of-the-mill player. What about Dead by Daylight makes you so mad all the time? And if you're constantly mad playing it, why are you still playing it? Because even I have good matches. You know, so even I'm not constantly mad. As competitive as I am, that's crazy, but it's true. So I want to know from the Dead by Daylight community, your average run-of-the-mill player, what about other asyms in Dead by Daylight makes you so angry all the time. And you know, the N-word is crazy that I get called that so often, considering that there's literally LGBTQ in my tag, but no one dares says something about me being gay. Actually, I've had it once. I've had it once. Somebody on Xbox sent me a message calling me the F slur, and I actually posted it to this channel. It's not. I don't think the video's up anymore. And his friend actually commented I got him banged, so I reported him. You know, he was also gay apparently. But like, what is it about you guys that you just automatically resort to hate speech and just pure just malice, man? Just absolute malice. Like, and I know somebody's gonna sit there and they're gonna tell me, well, Squid, it's not Dead by Daylight itself. It's how people play. Bruh? So does that mean that you don't really like online games as a rule of thumb? Because that's what that sounds like to me. You know, I play a lot of online games. One of the first online games I played, cause I didn't get an Xbox until I was 18. I was moved out on my own, and my first game I played online was World of Tanks, and I didn't like the way a lot of the people played then. But I've never resorted to like a hate speech. I've never called people the F slur. I've never used the N word over a video game. Never. I've never used it. I don't think I've ever used it, and I want to say that because again, my mother has told me my brother had said it and that she smacked the shit out of him, which is probably why I haven't ever used it. I don't remember getting smacked for it. I do remember getting my shit kicked in because I thought I was a little edgelord at 15, and said something racist to a Hispanic girl. I think she was Mexican, but I don't remember. But I did say something pretty awful, trying to be a little edgelord. Oh my god, my cat! Get away from that. And I got my shit kicked in. I deserved it. Do not get me wrong. I deserved it. And to this day, it is one of those moments I am incredibly ashamed of, but I learned and grew from it, and I unlearned that behavior. But that brings me back to my point with the community, is why do you guys think that's acceptable? It wasn't acceptable when I did it, and that was like 15, so 2012, 2013. What are you doing, Kek? God. Oh! God. You know? And I remember, I actually, they made us both apologize, but I really felt like she didn't need to apologize because I was wrong. They made her apologize for kicking my ass. I don't think she needed to apologize. I think I deserved to get my ass kicked. Let's be honest here. There were consequences for actions, and if you go around saying something racist and someone kicks your ass for it, you deserve that shit. But that's another thing. Like, you all wouldn't say this stuff to somebody's face. And another thing I noticed is that it's always other minorities that say it. It's never like a straight white person that said it to me. And I think it's like a lot of internalized hate. You know? As far as black people, I've never heard a black person say the N-word out of malice. I've never heard a black person do that. And Boondocks does not count people. But, like, the asym community, like, everyone is just like, Dead by Daylight is where all the rejects go. Swear to fucking God. It's like For Honor. In fact, it actually rivals For Honor in toxicity. And that's crazy, because I've actually had one of my friends, I don't stream with him anymore because he makes transphobic jokes, and I think that's unacceptable. But I did used to stream with him, so I guess he really wouldn't be a friend anymore. Anyway. My point is, he actually got doxxed one time. Not doxxed, DDoSed one time playing For Honor because he, kept winning and that made the dude mad so he can DDoS him. Which we actually saw that with Dead by Daylight. I think someone got swatted. Was that it? Anyway, a hacker got their IP and they swatted him or something. And I swear to God, it seems to be like Dead by Daylight is the one community that nobody really wants to acknowledge as part of the asym community, and This is why we're talking about asyms, by the way, because it seems to be like all like the rejects go to Dead by Daylight. Everybody who can't handle it goes to Dead by Daylight. It's just sad. Like, the asym community is, it's unique, man. It is unique. There's always discussions around balance, even though asym in itself, like, contradicts that. Like, asyms are not meant to be balanced. It's asymmetrical, meaning it's unbalanced. It's uneven. And, there's all kinds of talk about that. And I feel like people aren't acknowledging the problem with that. I know that that is definitely a huge amount of discourse in the asym community. And I'm worried about Killer Clowns right now. I really am worried about it. I don't want Dead by Daylight players to fucking ruin it. I also want them to stay away from Ghostbusters. Like, call me, okay. Call me a little paranoid, but I worry that even talking about another game made by Ilphonic that's an asym will, like, literally have them in droves ruining my favorite game. And it's not that I think that they'll ruin it per se, it's that there's a lot of negative people, and I don't want Ghostbusters to, like, have to go through that. It's such a great game. And I'm still working towards my Stay Puft. Please don't make me hate that as well. Anyway. And a lot of people, I mean, like, the asym community is just in shambles, man. No one asym game likes another asym games community. Like, not a single asym community gets along. And it's bizarre. Like, you know, you see FPS, you can say, oh, you play COD, do you play Halo? People are like, yeah, I do, actually. What's your favorite Halo game? Or what's your favorite COD game? And there's just this discussion, like, there's this mesh, and it's not that they hate each other, they actually kind of tolerate each other at the very least, right? And there's actual conversation about FPS balance, and it's meaningful conversation. It's not, well, that's stupid, that's an exploit, or that's unfair. Like, and you hear that a lot. So much. Meanwhile, TCM's over there, and then we're going to talk about TCM for a bit here now. So moving on from Dead by Daylight, we're going to talk about TCM. It's over there with the developers who are just... with the developers for TCM. I can say so many things about TCM's developers right now. And a lot of the shit that they say to the people that are criticizing, and I use that word loosely, it's deserved. But they also cannot take criticism. They are just as guilty as behavior with that shit. And I'm sorry, because a lot of the times it's not insults, it's genuine criticism that they could be using to build and better the game, and fucking... God damn it. Wes Keltner over there. Oh my god, dude, he is on fire. He is the dev that literally other games need, because they just do whatever the community asks, and it doesn't end well. And so we end up talking about TCM now. That community is on some shit. It's not even that they're toxic, they're just on some shit. So, what it boils down to with the TCM community, man, some of them are toxic. Let me put that, some of them are toxic, not nearly as bad as Dead by Daylight. In fact, unlike Dead by Daylight, they can handle teabagging. Dead by Daylight players, I know, I said the word teabagging, don't come at me. But they can handle it. I watched a streamer get teabagged, he got up and teabagged the enemy, and then they both sat around and teabagged in a circle for like a minute and a half. This is the funniest shit I've ever seen. But the community, man, is on some shit. And anytime an update is terrible, they're not just telling some of them are giving, you know, actual criticism, but a lot of them, man, they're coming for blood. One of them called the developer Wes Keltner a fucking monkey. And I just sat there like, god damn, y'all. Like, the Dead by Daylight players tear each other apart. You guys go for the devs. Y'all go out for blood. Like, it's like WWE, like, Battle Royale up in here, man. And only difference is, unlike the Dead by Daylight players who were just throwing punches, they brought the tables and chairs. And I just fucking wow. Just wow, man. And when we really discuss asyms, we have to talk about all of them that are still currently active and in use and being updated regularly. And so that brings us to fucking Ghostbusters. I just told y'all it's my favorite game. I just told y'all that. And I do mean that. I do mean that. The developers constantly have new content, new updates. The most recent one was for the new movie that dropped, Frozen Empire. I haven't went to see it yet. I really fucking need to. But anyway, the new, and they did something weird with the garage with some ice. It was really fucking cool, actually. And they've got a new ghost, right? And you know how the other communities are like everybody's coming at each other. TCM's coming for the devs over there. Ghostbusters, I swear to God, I don't even think they realize the devs exist. Like, you know how when you buy, back in the day, when you would buy a game for your PS2 and you load it up and that was it? You didn't question the developers. It was either a good game or it was a bad game. Yeah, that's the fucking Ghostbusters Spirits Unleashed community. I don't think they actually realize that updates even happen. I mean, obviously people like Sig So Wavy who create content do. And Ghostbusters League players, they obviously, but I think your average player just, oh, look, something new's in my game. Like, they don't even question it. They just enjoy what's given to them and they just go. They just go. And when I say, like, those new content constantly, I mean those new content constantly. The most recent Ghost is a fucking baddie. She looks amazing, by the way. The Icicle Spear Throw, I swear to God, she did that to me, and I didn't know what the fuck was going on. That's the first time loading up in a while, too. Because, you know, Ghostbusters does not get the clicks. It did on this channel though, but that was I was showcasing a new ghost on a new map. It was like one of the first free DLCs or whatever. And I'm sitting there like, man, this ghost is a badass, man, and she really was, right? And I'm playing, and nobody's shit talking. Kids are playing, and nobody's over here like telling the kids to get the off the game or anything like that. And the kids aren't doing that either. I think I heard one little kid say you're cheating to this guy who wasn't really cheating, he was just playing like an asshole. But I mean, like, for real though, there really isn't a lot of discourse in the community. And when we talk about asyms, that's kind of like amazing, because when VHS came out, holy hell. I know Jay, I don't think he goes by Jay anymore. He's rebranded like 5 times since then. I know that he was a huge advertiser of it. He's very sad to see it die, actually. Trickster Shadow also played it a lot, and so did Farmer John. And all 3 of them were Dead by Daylight streamers. But Jay loved the game, man. He loved the environment. And it actually did take some actual semblance of skill to play the game. It was not solidly RNG based, right? It was pretty well balanced. It was great. And I remember that even though all of that, there were so many positives, there was so much discourse. And after it officially released, after the closed beta went down because of the hacker attack, the developers they couldn't keep up with what they wanted. Right? They spent all that time getting rid of the weakness in the security and didn't have time to make new content. I think the biggest content they were able to release after release was the Pride stuff, and it was expensive. What's also TCM's problem, by the way, is the price, man. Ghostbusters, fortunately, all the DLC is free. And the reason I'm bringing this up is because, like, the community, man, was just, like, it was very similar to Dead by Daylight, and the fact that they just fucking shit on everybody. And it was sad, and I think a lot of that was that a lot of Dead by Daylight content creators came over, especially during the closed beta. I was one of them. And I was really sad when it shut down. I didn't play it when it picked back up. My PC had died and I didn't have time, and then when I actually did get a new PC, they took it off, so I was kind of like, well, my life, you know. But I remember, man, it was kind of wild. For such a positive and well-designed game, there was a lot of discourse in the community, man. And that's why with Ghostbusters Spirits Unleashed, it's so unique to see an asym that does not have that level of discourse. There's not this level of hatred. And Ash Evil Dead, I mean, there was so many people that were so hyped about that game, and then it was so short-lived because of lack of replayability in the matches. It wasn't like things like Ghostbusters or DVD or TCM where there was just this massive level of replayability. And I've heard some people argue that there was. I didn't personally play it. I'm just going by what I've heard people say. But there was still a lot of like upset about the game and how it ended up being. And we as streamers, we sat there like, what the fuck? What you mean? And it was hype. And a lot of people, they talk about, how it was supposed to be the next DVD killer, much like TCM and VHS, and it just wasn't. But I don't think, and here's my solid opinion, I do not think Ash Evil Dead actually came in there with the intention of killing DVD. Much like Ghostbusters Spirits Unleashed, they just wanted to create a really fun game, and it is unfortunate it was so short-lived. I don't know if it's still played, like consistently. Like I don't know what the player base right now looks like. Like, even though Ghostbusters is successful, there's still not a lot of people streaming it. Even with the drops going on right now, there was still not a lot. And it's a little sad to see. It's a little disheartening to see. To see that. But, we're sitting there, thinking about these asyms, and I'm sitting there thinking about it, and I'm thinking, man, Killer Clowns, it's going to be really unique to see where Killer Clowns goes, because the asym community as a whole has a reputation of being really toxic. For there to be 3 asyms right now that are regularly played, and Ghostbusters is regularly played, but there's not a lot of streamers streaming it. I'm not gonna lie to you, even Just Gavin doesn't stream it anymore. So, I mean, it's regularly played, but there's not a lot of publicity for it. So I don't know how much longer that's gonna be either. But as we're talking about that, we're sitting here thinking about Killer Clowns, and I really, really hope that the Dead by Daylight community just doesn't do it the way they did VHS. I'm really worried. I'm really concerned. I hope they don't do it the way they did TCM either. People came in the TCM, were upset it didn't play like DVD, and just left. And knowing that it just left either, a lot of them were attacking other players and developers. And I do think that Gun Gaming has done a really good job of balancing maps out. They respond very quickly to that. Their content release is very, very steady and it's very, very quick. Although Dead by Daylight players would disagree. But I would like to point out to Dead by Daylight players that we don't usually get updates, but maybe like once every couple months. For a while there, TCM was having updates every month. So, people that were upset about that, I like to remind them that Dead by Daylight didn't have that many. And somebody, I don't remember who it was talking about how like these games were only releasing with 1 to 3 characters, a total of 5 characters, and like 1 to 2 maps. And I was like, dude, Dead by Daylight released with 3 killers, 5 survivors, and 3 maps total. What do you want from them? These asyms, they have to start somewhere, right? Dead by Daylight started somewhere, and a lot of the criticism for these other asyms is coming from Dead by Daylight players. I don't know what the future of the asym community is, but Dead by Daylight, I do think its days are numbered. I think much like For Honor. It's slowly losing traction. And it's losing traction because of the player base. I do think Dead by Daylight's days are numbered. I don't think Killer Clowns will be the one to kill it. I do not think TCM will be the one to kill it. I will say this about the asym community, and I'll say this about them as a whole. They are some of the most toxic people I have ever met. I have never been told to off myself more than I have been in Dead by Daylight. I have never been called slurs more than I have been in Dead by Daylight. We talked about the N-word and the F-slur. And, it's crazy, man. I know I solved the issue on the Evil Squid 365 Twitch account because I put my face on there. And they could see it was a white kid. And I guess kids loose. I'm like mid-20s now. So I guess kids are using that word loosely. But my Gamer Squid channel doesn't have a picture of me on it. And I don't stream with a face cam a lot of the times. And I think that is another fucking issue that people don't realize. They don't realize that, your hatred of another race does not translate to how someone plays a game, right? And we do, and again, it's not just me, it happens too. And we're gonna go back to Dead by Daylight because this is the best example of asym community I can think of, along with TCM. But we're gonna talk about this real quick because it is a big fucking deal, as far as the asym community being the way they are. When Leatherface released for Dead by Daylight, he had extra face skins. Where he would, if he killed each of the basic survivors 25 times, he got to wear the face. Well, a lot of the Dead by Daylight community used that to be racist. They would use it as blackface and target African American survivors, like Claudette, like Detective Tap. I think Detective Tap. No, Detective Tap. And they would intentionally target those survivors, you know? And that's something that I've never seen in any other game, ever. Actually, multiverses. Yes, I have. Multiverses. And we are going to be doing a lot of that on the Gamer Squid channel once we releases on the 28th of May. But multiverses. Yes, I have, actually, because when Velma came out, she had a police car. And people were using that to target black characters or black streamers. So, actually, yes, I have. Yes, I have. But again, the Dead by Daylight community was the first place I saw something like that happen. And I remember thinking to myself, God damn, y'all some little fucking degenerates, man. And, and that's the thing. I do see that Sonya is disproportionately killed in TCM as well. I don't know why people want to target black characters so much. Other than just to be an ass. I don't think racism has a place in gaming. But the asym genre seems to have a lot of racism, a lot of homophobia, despite it being mostly full of fucking minorities. Most of the streamers that stream Dead by Daylight are gay or trans or people of color. And so I don't really understand why there is so much hatred within the community. I saw someone say they thought it was because the community itself was like just wanting somebody else to feel the way they did, like there was some kind of like therapeutic like reason behind it. And I don't think there's a therapeutic reason behind it. I think that the community is just full of a bunch of shitters. I think the asym community as a whole, Ghostbusters Spirits Unleashed being, not included in that, although I'm sure that there's some dark underbelly for Ghostbusters. I'm gonna call it SU because I'm not saying Spirits Unleashed every 2 seconds. I'm sure Ghostbusters SU has some kind of dark underbelly that I haven't run across yet. I'm sure it's there because it is the asym community, unfortunately. But one thing I've noticed about the asym community is that it is one of the worst gaming communities to be a part of. And I see that this kind of like behavior is seeping in the other communities as well. It was primarily within FPS games for a long time, and I think that, I think for the most part that stuff's gone now. There's still a lot of misogyny and racism and bigotry and all that jazz in FPS games, but it's lessened a lot. I think that we will have to go through the same growing pains that FPS games had to go through, and that's really, really unfortunate. That the communities are so toxic, man. Because it is going to end up killing the communities, it's going to end up destroying them, and it will be eventually the downfall of Dead by Daylight. Already the developers are infantilizing the game because people can't handle acting like adults. They're treating them like babies. They're taking away D-pips. They're making things more safer, less stressful, because these people cannot handle playing a game. It's depressing. It's sad. And it really should not be a thing. Like, people should be able to play a game and handle winning or losing. My favorite example of how the Dead by Daylight community and asym community as a whole is different than other gaming communities. I was playing Madden online one time, and this was one of the rare times I played one of the Lotto games. I am banned from them in this house, technically. I'm not supposed to play them. And I'm playing Madden, and this guy, he's gonna win. It's like 7 seconds left. I know he's won, so I just forfeit, And he sends me a nasty message about it. And I said, dude, it was 7 seconds left. I wasn't gonna win, accept your win gracefully. and he comes back and he says, "Yeah, you're right. I am so sorry." That is the difference between other gaming communities and Dead by Daylight. I'm not gonna say they're all peachy perfect like that, and Madden has some of the worst losers I've ever met. Now, when I say losers, I mean people that lose and can't handle it. I don't mean losers in like they're a loser person. I mean like losers in like they can't handle losing. Okay? And some of the worst winners in some cases that I've ever met. Right? But what I'm saying is that unlike Dead by Daylight, instances like that happen more often. If I tried that with somebody in Dead by Daylight, they would be an ass about it. They would be condescending. And that's really, really depressing. If I tried with somebody who played TCM, they would be an ass about it and be condescending. The asym community is one of, and right now it is one of the most toxic communities out there, followed closely by fighting games. When Multiversus re-releases, I fully expect that my chat and my comments are going to be filled with nasty individuals. Unfortunately for me, the genres of games that I like to play often have some of the nastiest people in them. Now, and I'll keep in mind, I don't particularly like fighting games. As a rule of thumb, I'm not a big fan of For Honor. I can't stand Mortal Kombat. The storyline is fine. I just don't like the gameplay. But Multiversus I really enjoyed, right? I really, really liked Multiversus, and I'm excited for it to come back. But when it comes to the asym community, the fact that it is king at the moment in toxicity is insane. The fact that it is literally king in toxicity is wild. The asym community really needs to chill out, man. And I'm still looking for an answer if you guys have watched this from the Dead by Daylight community on what the fuck is wrong with y'all. And I kind of want to answer from some of the TCM community too. Why do you guys go after the devs so hard, man? Like, you guys are extra about it. Ghostbusters, I don't know that you guys are actually... Do you guys even know the devs exist? I'm just being honest here. Or do y'all just accept the content as it comes? Like, I actually do want to know that. I want to know that the most, actually. Like, do you guys even know that y'all have developers updating this shit regularly? That is so sad I have to even ask that. But no, the asym community as a whole is terrible, man. As a whole, it is terrible. And if you're still playing Ash Evil Dead, I also want to know about that. What's the community like over there? And I want an honest answer. I don't want this bias shit, because depending on who I ask about Dead by Daylight, they'll tell me it's a positive community. Even though I know it's not, because I play that game a lot, unfortunately. So I want to know, guys. I want to know. Those of you who are playing asym games, doesn't matter the game. Do you think the community for your specific game is positive? Or do you think it's toxic? Or do you think that it's a mix? And Ghostbusters SU fans, I'm going to exclude you from that because I already know that y'all have another question to answer, and that's if you think the developers exist, because I don't know about y'all sometimes. I really need to know that, guys. But on the other hand, man, for those of you who are asym enjoyers, are you guys going to play Killer Clowns? And what exactly do you all think about Killer Clowns as a whole? Because as it released, we saw quite a bit. It's going to be a 3v4. We saw that it's going to have some interesting characters and interesting things. I need to know this shit, guys. And we're talking about the asym community here. Specifically, guys, we will do one on fighting games, I promise, especially with Multiversus being around the corner. But for now, this is just asym. So, asym enjoyers, I need to know. I need that dropped in the comment section. I need to know what you guys' problem is. I need to know about your communities and all that jazz. And so, where I'm sitting, the communities for most asyms are trash, man. I'm just gonna say it, trash. Absolute trash. Like, you guys are the guys that we made fun of in those videos that CosDef would make. Could be, like, mega raging. He still makes those, by the way. First and finest internet troll out there. And it's not that he's trolling. It's that he does it in a way that's not over the top, right? he knows those lines he can't cross. Right? And I'll be honest with you. I swear to God, when I used to play COD, I used to worry I would be put in one of those videos because I would rage so hard. I mean, and that ought to tell you why I don't play COD no more. And it's about to be why I don't play Dead by Daylight no more. It's about to be why I don't play a lot of shit no more. So the biggest question is, like, asym communities, are they going to die out? Is asyms going to eventually die? Because we already know Dead by Daylight will eventually die, and it will not be the developers that kill it, it will be the community. We already know this just based off of where the community is at right now. Now, that could change if the community changed. I don't think it's going to. First off, I do not think it's going to. As much as I love Spook and Jukes, him blowing up the names doesn't matter because people still find those people, and it gives them the attention that they desperately want. And that's why they're doing it. It's the same reason those kids go on those just chatting lives on Twitch and start harassing strangers on the street. I think I saw one guy was banned on Kick over that. But, like, I already know that Dead by Daylight will eventually kill itself thanks to its community. But what about the rest of the asym genre? Do you all think it's going to survive? Do you think there's actually a sustainable fan base there? I mean, because honestly, where I'm standing right now, there is. There definitely is. But I think what the problem is that the communities, they expect it to be like Dead by Daylight, or whatever their favorite asym is, and then when the next game that releases isn't exactly like that, they lose the shit. Excuse me. Ugh. Ugh. Sorry, guys. My asym decided to kill me today. Anyway. But they lose their shit, right? When it's not exactly how they want it. Now today, I didn't get called the N-word. But I did bring up earlier that in another stream I did by that we had another streamer come in. And he was a fighting game streamer for Mortal Kombat. I would bet money that this dude doesn't stream Mortal Kombat that often. Because I can only imagine how he would react if someone came in and told him about himself like he did me. And I'm going to be real with you right now, Mortal Kombat doesn't seem to have the issue that For Honor has. Most games don't seem to have the issue that Dead by Daylight has either. Like, I will sit there and I will play the out of Skyrim, and I don't really see a lot of people in the community acting like that towards streamers. Like, oh, you're not on Legendary mode? You fucking piece of shit. Like, you don't hear that a lot. Like, actually, I don't think I've ever heard that. Or, like, Fallout 76. You don't hear, oh, well, you used the level 20 boost, so you don't need anything. You play like a fucking whatever, you can think of. Like, I swear to God, man. Dead by Daylight and the asym community as a whole is the only community I've ever seen that does that shit. And I'm using Dead by Daylight the most because it is, right now, it is at the top of the franchise, at the top of the rung, followed by TCM and then Ghostbusters. It was actually an asym I used to play. I don't know, is it installed on my PC, on my console? Let me go check, actually. I think it is, actually. It's called White Noise. White Noise 2. And, it's actually not a bad game, but much like other asyms, it's dead. You can really only get bot matches. But, I really do think that the asym community needs help, man. They need help in figuring out how they're gonna make the community better than what it is, because right now, as it stands, the community is terrible. It's fucking terrible. We have literal people in the community who will target minorities, or target children, and they're proud of it. I heard somebody tell Spook and Jukes that it was justified that they told him, that they told him that his kids were not, were unfortunately having a dad like him. And they were criticizing his kids and him, right? And they said, well, you did teabag. You did do that. I can only imagine if I tried that excuse in real life. Like, you did crouch up and down, so, I'm justified to target your family. Like, what? What? And this is the common shit we see in asyms. It is so fucking common. Obviously not in Ghostbusters SU. I don't see it. I haven't seen it. I haven't seen it. Let me rephrase that. I don't know. Actually, has anybody... Okay. Ghostbusters players, this is another question for y'all. Have you all ever seen anybody in y'all's community act like that? Have you all seen it? And I'm gonna go ahead and tell you, I haven't seen it. Now, I will say that I think part of the reason that people act the way they do in the asym community is that they are used to not having consequences. Because there was a streamer who admitted to being, to sexually assaulting and harassing somebody, and he said, well, I was single, so... And then he was real surprised when he got banned off Twitch for a week for admitting to that. Like, I think that that's part of the asym community's problem. Is it is a lot of minorities, and a lot of minorities, unfortunately, do not get consequences for their actions. And I actually have seen it firsthand. There was a streamer that was upset at Spook and Jukes. God damn, that man finds himself in so much drama. And she accused him of being transphobic and having his community attack her. And even though it was a false accusation, nobody criticized her for that false accusation. Nobody. She had no consequences for trying to ruin a man's entire career. Like, it was just gonna go. It was an anything goes kind of thing. It was just going to fly. Like, I'm not trying to be that person, but, like, I think a lot of minorities are getting used to the fact that that people justify things simply because they're a minority. That should not be a thing. Like, why is that a thing, actually? But I think because the asym community is full of so many people who are minority groups, that's part of the problem, is they're not used to having consequences. They're not used to it. You know, I'm gay, but I'm also white, and there's a lot of consequences for a lot of things I say because I'm white. I don't have the privilege to go on platforms and say whatever the fuck I want. And I think that is the difference, is like a person of color can come onto a platform and be openly racist, and there's no consequences, right? A gay person can go and say, you know, hateful things about straight people, and there's no consequences. It does seem to me that is part of the problem. And I actually did not believe that was a thing until TikTok, actually. I did not believe that there were minority groups going out and doing these things and justifying it, not getting any consequences until TikTok. Because TikTok is a prime example of it. A prime example. And I'm not going to speak on the racism part because I'm white. And like I said, I don't have that privilege. But I do have the privilege of being a gay person to speak on the gay people part. And a lot of y'all wild. A lot of y'all fucking wild. And I mean that. I have seen gay people be openly bigoted. I have seen them say horrendous, awful things that a straight person would never get away with saying about a gay person. And they don't even get a slap on the wrist. They don't even get that. They're encouraged. People encourage them to do these awful things. And I don't know. I think that's part of the problem. Especially with so much of the asym community being part of the LGBTQ community. Like, there seems to be this sense of superiority. Like, they're so much better than straight people. I mean, I don't think that, obviously. But I've seen it a lot. And I actually do worry about that, not just in the gaming community, but in the real world as a whole. I worry about the repercussions that will have in the future. Hopefully I'm dead before those repercussions happen. Hopefully I'm long dead. But I do worry. I do worry. And maybe the asym community acting the way they act is just simply an extension of what we're seeing on social media. Maybe that is also another problem. Is that is an extension of the problems we're seeing with people not having consequences because they're minorities or whatever the reason. Like, maybe that is part of the problem, you know? Maybe that is part of the problem. And I have heard the term that gay people cannot be bigoted. I've heard the term that trans people can't be bigoted. I've heard the term that people of color can't be racist. I disagree with all of those just based on definition of racism and bigotry. But I also, again, didn't believe it until I saw it with my own eyes. It took me seeing it with my own eyes to actually believe it. Because I was one of those people who did not have that, who believed the opinions of others over my own. Now I think and shit for myself. The older I get, the more I think for myself, actually. It's doing me really well. But I do worry about the repercussions of that. Like, 100% worry about that. The asym community as a whole just seems to be full of some of the nastiest people I've met. That's probably why there's so much TikTok videos for Dead by Daylight too. It's because, their nastiness is celebrated there. Gay people can be bigots there, and trans people can be bigots, and it's celebrated. But, as a whole, the asym community needs a lot of help, man. A lot of help. And I'm worried, as I should be, about the asym community. And we got up on a political rant there, and this is a gaming channel. But as I say this, I know there's going to be a lot of people in the asym community who hate me for calling out the toxicity in the community. Right, and how talking about it makes it worse. But if we don't talk about it, and we just keep pushing it in the back, and pushing it, and pushing it, and pushing it, eventually all of our dirty laundry is going to come crashing through the door, right? So we need to talk about it. Because eventually it's all going to come back to bite us in the ass, right? It's going to culminate, and then it's just going to explode. Well, anyway, that is my discussion on the asym community and what is wrong with it, and my questions, and my own experience, and my own observations. Keep in mind, everything I've said on this channel is from my own experiences, and that's why I did mention a lot how I haven't seen this, or I haven't seen that, okay? Obviously, people are going to have varying opinions because they have experienced different things than I have, and that is perfectly acceptable, okay? So, again, thank you guys so much for listening and or watching. You guys are amazing, and I hope you guys have an awesome day.